welcome back to this Dialogue Web Extra. I'm Marcia Franklin, and I'm with 4 reporters who cover environmental issues in Idaho. Rocky Barker with the Idaho Statesman, Kimberly Cruzy with the Twin Falls Times News, Aaron Kuntz with EarthFix, and Eric Barker at our studio in Moscow, who reports for the Lewiston Tribune. Thanks to all of you for staying with this Web Extra. I am going to take a call from Luca right now out of Glens Ferry. Luca, go ahead, please.
Yes, ma'am. I'm not really good at this, but I was just listening to your program about the Fish and Game raising the wolf count.
Yes, the wolf, the bag limits. In other words, how many can be killed?
Yes, ma'am. Of course, I disagree with it because I'm an animal activist and love animals, and you know, I don't like to kill anything. But
so, tell me, in your area, how do you think that your friends and neighbors feel? Do you think that that's they share your opinion?
Oh no. Where I live, you know, it's mostly hunters. I mean, and they're mostly Mormons and Catholics, and all they care about is you don't care about the animals. They just care about, you know, breeding more people, and then the people take over the land, and then they take over the wilderness where, you know, move into where the animals live, and then they wonder why the animals kill their pets, and then they go out and kill the cougars because they ate one of their cats or dogs. I mean,
so you feel
these people are moving into their areas.
Well, it's a good point.
And
let's
people are. Let me talk for just a second. People are consuming the earth because of overpopulation, and there's not going to be any wildlife left, and because people are going to take it over. And to get back to the wolf count, Fish and Game are making a lot of money off the licenses by upping the count, and nobody says anything about that. You know, how much money the state is making off these animals, killing these animals.
Well, let's get some comments from our reporters. I'm going to put you on hold. You'll be able to hear them. Luca, thanks so much. Her view, obviously, shared by a lot of people outside of this state as well, who I saw just a posting the other day on the Facebook page of Outdoor Idaho of somebody who says they're going to be boycotting the state because of the killing of wolves. Eric?
Yes, Marcia, it does remain the wolf hunts and the controls that are going on are unpopular with some percentage of the population. We also hear tremendous frustration from some hunters who really feel like the elk herds are imperiled, and they are in some areas, and they're healthy in other areas. So it's really an issue that has strong emotions on both sides.
Well, Rocky, the issue she's talking about humans encroaching into wildlife areas. I mean, this is the story all over the country, whether you're looking at, you know, deer overpopulating urban areas and in other parts of the country. I mean, there's this wildland-urban interface.
Well, you know, the wolf carries on its back the cultural divide that we're talking about. I mean, that's what's really interesting. And her comments, you know, really are reflected a lot. There are a lot of Idahoans who share her view of this, but they don't have many voices in the political leadership. And the Fish and Game Department has clearly ignored them. And so at some point, I wouldn't be surprised to see some lawsuits come in on things like trapping and things like this, because, you know, they have not found a way to appease people on this side. Now, there's still also very, very strong feelings among many hunters that we aren't killing them up. And Fish and Game has suggested that just last week the chairman of the commission suggested that there were, you know, 1,600 wolves out there even after the season, even though his biologist said this. Well, that drives the folks who love wolves crazy because they think they're disappearing. Everybody thinks they're losing what they care about.
Fair enough, right. And it's really hard to tell what the numbers really are.
It is, but, you know, wolves aren't going away and elk aren't going away. And, you know, but the issue she brings about the bigger challenge to elk, in fact, is, like she says, is development and growth into winter range and things like that. That's, those are the kind of things that we're trying, that there's actually some consensus among sportsmen and environmentalists on. And, if they can work on those issues and not talk about wolves, they might make some progress on a lot of things.
There's still some anger from people, even the wolves aside, but talking about the wolf issue they view it as the federal government coming in and forcing something on the state of Idaho, even though many ranchers here in the state of Idaho were opposed to reintroducing the wolves to this area. So a lot of the sentiments are almost anti-government, not necessarily anti-wolf, although they probably go hand in hand.
And we're seeing some controversy over some photos and exchanges on email that came out of somebody who trapped a wolf and let that wolf be in that trap for a while before it was killed.
They're pretty gruesome photos.
So these photos are making the rounds, and people, as I say, are saying that they're going to boycott the state. Some people,
but there are people down in Kimberly's area who have websites with equally gruesome pictures of dead elk that wolves have eat up. And so
But then you have pictures of the dead sheep too, and so that everyone has a photo.
That's right.
Controversy on both sides. I want to get to some of the issues that we were not able to cover in our main program. And one of them, Eric up north, has to do with something called the Lochsa Land Exchange. We have a Facebook comment here from Ray, who's the director of something called Stop the Swap. And he says we've registered over 1,400 members who are opposed to the Lochsa Land Exchange in just 2 months. There's little to no public support for this exchange. This is a redistribution of wealth in reverse. Land belonging to the masses is being traded to a select few wealthy corporations. Eric, could you explain to folks what the Lochsa Land Exchange is, which involves many different parts of the Forest Service up there and Western Pacific timber?
Yes, Marcia. So there's about 40,000 acres of private timberland at the head of the Lochsa River that's intermixed checkerboard with federal land. And Western Pacific acquired this, and there's a proposal to trade about up to 18,000 acres of scattered tracts of federal land across about 3 forests for this private land. They say it would protect this ecologically important land. It would make it easier and cheaper to manage. It's been tremendously unpopular proposal, however. Almost everybody you talk to supports federal acquisition of that private land. They just don't want to give up their favorite piece of land or their little local playground to do it. And boy, these land exchanges are always painful, and it's really difficult. And it kind of shows you how much people really do love public land, that they're not willing to part with any of it. And so the decision is in the hands of the Forest Service now. I don't expect it till late this year, but we don't know what's going to happen.
So from the work that you've been doing, is it a 50-50 proposition for local support, or as Ray says, are more people opposed to it?
No, as far as the trade, there is no vocal advocate for the trade. The Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation at one point was involved and was a partner with the Forest Service in pushing for the trade. It kind of had a groundswell from its rank and file members against it, saying, hey, you're giving away my favorite hunting ground or some good elk habitat to acquire this land. So they have since dropped out. They still support acquisition of the land, but not trading away land to get it.
Well, and Rocky...
So it is... Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say go on, Eric, finish your thought.
Oh, I was just going to say that, again, there's no real vocal advocate out there in the public for the trade. There is strong support for acquisition, but not for the trade.
And Rocky, this issue carries some baggage with it because Mr. Blixith, who is a partner in Western Pacific Timber, has his own trail behind him of bankruptcies and problems.
That's right. Tim is a very colorful character, timber guy who's made and lost billions, and so a lot of people don't like the fact that he's doing this.
And he's got the land that could potentially be exchanged.
That's right. It's his land. He bought it from Plum Creek, which was getting out of Idaho, and and it's got some, the reason people like it, it's got some of the Lewis and Clark Trail interspersed throughout it. It's got a lot of high public value.
Up by the Lolo Pass.
Right, but people don't have the money to pay 40,000 acres, and then you have to look at the county. The county itself is worried, Idaho County, that it's going to lose all that public land tax base.
But they've always complained that the PILT payments weren't high enough.
Exactly. So the tax issue is a big issue. Ultimately, the answer to this, if they get it, is going to be they're going to have to go to Congress for some money. They're probably not going to get enough money to buy the whole thing out, but they're going to have to buy some treaty rights. There are things in their Congress. They can't just do this cleanly.
Without Congress, Eric, correct me if I'm wrong, but right now they couldn't do an acre for acre trade. That's not allowable, right? It has to be done on the value of the land.
So Idaho County has proposed doing an acre for acre trade, and that would protect its land base. It's on the record as being opposed to the trade, but if a trade's going to happen, it would like an acre for acre trade to occur solely within Idaho County, and the Forest Service cannot do that by law. It has to do value for value trade, and so it would take an act of Congress to do, and I haven't seen any sign that anybody in our congressional delegation is interested in pushing that.
And that would mean more acres down in the place where people like to go. So that's not going to go anywhere with the public.
And what does Mr. Blixith get out of this besides money? I mean, the parcels of land that he gets from the Forest Service,
He's a timber guy.
They'd be logging them, potentially developing them.
Yep.
Okay.
He wants to cut timber and sell it, manage timber, and the mills could really use in that area. There are mills around Grangeville that could definitely use that, or just even down in New Meadows, that could use that timber. But it's just not a popular thing to do.
Right.
And
sounds very complex. Another complex issue, one that's in your backyard, so to speak, is called Gateway West.
Yeah.
And that is a big power transmission line. We have a map of it that would run through southern Idaho all the way into Wyoming. What's the purpose of it? And talk about the controversies.
To build a transmission line across southern Idaho and southern Wyoming. It's 1,100 miles, and the BLM has a proposed main route, but then it also has a bunch of alternative routes. And over in Cassia County, there's a lot of alarm over this project right now because a lot of the main projects or main lines are going to private land, and so you have this concern of transmission lines going through farmland, decreasing the value of their land, impacting their farming. So a lot of comments, a lot of fear that maybe this is, they're not going out the alternative routes, and also like that fear of not being heard. When a big project like this, a multi-year project, multi-million-dollar project, people want to be involved and they want to know how that's going to impact them.
And this transmission line would allow Idaho Power and Rocky Mountain Power in Wyoming to maintain consistent power during peak loads. Is that why they want this one long line?
Well, it's just to increase their growth load and just kind of an expectation in the future that they're going to need this.
And also to sell power?
Yes.
Okay. Rocky,
these are really big transmission
you've covered
lines.
this
First
as
of
well.
all, a number of years ago when it first got started, and when people think about these transmission lines, they aren't these small ones you see along the highway. I mean, I would put them in context of close to what a wind turbine high and very, very high voltage. And the question is, for farmers or where they would move through private land, is how could they use that land? You can't take big, tall tractors through that because you got that problem of arcing going on. So it would either reduce the amount of or value of their land, and then also for those who do get money for this transmission line, what happens when they sell that land? The next people won't get some of that. We're talking billions of dollars, $2 billion, I think, is what the overall project is valued at, and this is also going to have to be paid for, and that's through rates.
Have people brought up the issue of it being an eyesore the way that wind turbines have? Have people brought up the issue of health considerations living near high transmission or high voltage power lines?
People were concerned, at least from the first startup point when I was covering it, that there was that health concern or that it's an eyesore. They're trying to keep it as far out of the way of the public as possible. And there has been some discussion of moving it into more public land, which would be further south, but we're also talking about having to lay a lot more very, very expensive lines.
So this has started, the construction has started. Obviously, we're seeing a video of it. How far along is it?
Oh,
it's to Downey.
Yeah.
It's already to Downey, right on the edge of Idaho. They've through Wyoming, and so it's it's moved. It's right on the edge here, but frankly, they've got a big problem here. The issue with the locals is stopping it in Idaho. Idaho does not. We get back to the whole issue of local control. Idaho doesn't have an electric plant or facilities siting law. So the counties have the final say. Cassia County right now and Power County, if they decide they don't want to do it.
Kind of ironic name, huh?
Yeah, there's nothing they can do about it. But on the other side of this, if they take that southern route, it's going to take them through a whole lot more of the same problem they had with China Mountain, sage-grouse. It's some fantastic sage-grouse country. And so, it's a real challenge for them.
Kimberly, you were going to say something? Or what's your sense of what these counties are? Might they stop it in their area? Or,
from what I can tell is that they do want to work with the BLM. They just really want to make sure that they're not going to be harmed from it in the long run. And so, and there's a lot of concern right now. So if they feel like they can stop it because there's just too much at risk, I don't see them, I see them doing that.
But in the end, the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission can come in and say, we're going to do it this way, whether you like it or not. And so the state has, an interest in trying to resolve this without. They can't just leave it to the counties. If this ends up getting the way that the counties can't resolve it, then I suspect either the state or eventually the federal government will step in, because it's a pretty big issue.
And I have seen them work with, there was a group of farmers out in Castleford that were very concerned about their route, and they presented it to, the BLM, and the BLM said, fine, you know what, we actually will use another alternative route. There's not just one other alternative. There's
they're
sometimes
negotiating with the BLM, not Idaho Power?
Well, just for the routes, because BLM was kind of like the one that proposed the routes. And so, they were able to kind of find a way to just even moving it just a couple feet in one direction. Really? In some ways, it just can be like, just please move it off my land. And so, yeah.
Well, as we wrap up, I just think it's fascinating, because often when I've done these shows on the environment, it's been species oriented, but many of the stories that we had in the main program and the one that we were just talking about are energy related. And I know, Erin, you're working on a piece for Idaho Reports, and you've been looking at several energy issues for EarthFix. This seems to be becoming one of the dominant issues.
Everything revolves around it.
Wind power, electricity, oil and gas drilling.
Well, Marcia.
And water.
Yeah, water.
Yeah. I mean, just about everything is connected to energy, and because of that, it's been a major, major focus, and we're hearing a lot of personal stories about this because of that. During some of the oil and gas regulation hearings, we had some pretty packed houses, people who really wanted to get out there and get involved. Same thing with the wind, even though it died. I don't think we mentioned that bill proposed by Representative Eric Simpson, basically he pulled off
the moratorium.
The moratorium bill was pulled off.
But we're going to have a task force to take a look at that.
Yeah.
So clearly, the legislature is putting it on top of the docket.
That's right. Marcia, what I was saying about why has energy stepped up to being such a big issue in the environmental world? It's pretty simple. It's because of rapid climate change. No longer will any capital markets fund new coal plants because of climate change. They have to get rid of. We have the highest carbon dioxide in like 177,000 years, and it's rapidly changing the climate. And they are now, Congress is not moving very quickly on this issue, but things are happening all around it, and some of the problems. That's why renewable has been an opportunity because of it. But on the other hand, you've got all these other problems.
With siting, with species.
Exactly. So it's, it's really going to be, I think, in the next 50 years, it is going to be the major environmental issue. And as you see, people are on both sides of that issue. It's not environmentalists here, farmers here. People, sometimes it's farmers who are pushing to stop something and environmentalists who want it to go.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Well, thank you. We will watch that, and I want to thank you for staying for this additional Web Extra. You've been listening to 4 environmental reporters from around the state: Rocky Barker, Kimberly Cruzy, Aaron Kuntz, and Eric Barker. I'm Marcia Franklin. Thanks for tuning in to this Dialogue Web Extra.